where do you put the Texans as in terms of teams most likely to knock off the Chiefs in 2024?
It's something I was thinking about because, once again, there's another article that has to do with, get this, Bengals and Chiefs. That's been a consistent theme. And Joe Burrow said, hey, like, we think we can do it. Obviously, they've done it before. So are the Bengals number one just because they're the only team that we've seen do it on a multiple time basis?
I think that does give them the leg up here and probably would be my number one choice because I've seen it with my eyes.
Are the Bengals the last team to beat the Chiefs in the playoffs? I think they are, right?
Probably.
Yes.
They have to be.
Yes, AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
Yeah, in January 2022.
Yeah.
Correct.
So
Yes.
so they're your number one choice probably by they're your de facto number one choice because they've done it. The Texans are on their way up, and maybe our perception will change as soon as week 1 if the Texans beat the Chiefs in week 1 of the season, if they end up playing that week. But I would probably put the Texans second on the list behind the Cincinnati Bengals as teams most likely to dethrone the Kansas City Chiefs in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, think about the alternatives because the AFC is loaded. Unless you're really bullish on the Jets and Aaron Rodgers finally being healthy, it's Lamar Jackson and the Ravens. You shouldn't trust Lamar Jackson in the playoffs right now. You shouldn't. I mean, maybe there will be a day where he doesn't have a disastrous playoffs. You can't trust Tua Tagovailoa.
They got close in the AFC title game.
The Bills haven't done it yet. The Bills have come close a couple of times.
But they're so different this year. You lost so many guys on defense, on offense as well.
Very true. They do have a lot of the starters that they had last year. I'm feeling myself weirdly zagging against the idea that the Bills are going to take a huge step back, even though a couple of weeks ago I was saying that. But there's not that much turnover, and they did finish the season strong, but they still ultimately lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe it was because of Stephon Diggs that they could blame him. I'm going to say just because I still am a little skeptical that it's a lock. The Texans make the playoffs. I would pick them to win the division right now, but I don't feel great about that with how close Indy played them last year. But I feel like it's Cincinnati that's number one, Buffalo that's 2, Texans 3 as far as teams that are most likely have the most chance to overtake Kansas City in the playoffs and stop them from a three-peat.
Yeah, I'm gonna. I have to have the Texans in front of the Bills. I'm with you a little bit on the zag on the Bills that everyone's so down on them that I want to be on the other side of this. For example, like I'm watching their win total closely. I think it's going to drop. I don't even know what it's at right now, but people are so down. It feels like that's where the betting is going. The public betting is going to go towards the under on the Bills win total this season. I still think they're the best team in that division. So I would go Bengals as my number one option to knock off the Chiefs. And then I would go Texans too, just because the talent is there. The quarterback is there. And I just don't know what your other options are outside of that.
It is weird because it's a quarterback-heavy conference, but obstacles to overcome. The Colts, we haven't really seen a marquee win with Anthony Richardson. And that's, I think, the big wrinkle with them. But they will be a tough out. I think we all look at the Jaguars as fraudulent. The Chargers now have Jim Harbaugh in addition to Justin Herbert. But at the same time, they're very far back. None of us, I think, and maybe it's due to bias, look at the Browns' offense as a serious threat because we don't know that Deshaun Watson's ever going to be that guy again. We already talked about the Jets and the Dolphins.
Okay, the Jets intrigue me. I'm still intrigued by the New York Jets in 2024 a little bit. Because if Aaron Rodgers is healthy, they address their offensive line, they have Garrett Wilson. In theory, they have a good defense. But Robert Saleh seems to be a little bit of a disaster as a coach. But Aaron Rodgers, if he's healthy, is still probably one of the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL.
I don't know.
I think he's still there. So
I don't know. The year before, in his last year in Green Bay, and I get that there might have been injuries involved, but he was not what he had been the year before where he was MVP.
Yeah, text line just says Ravens with a bunch of question marks. They're going to be a great regular season team, but Lamar chokes
Jackson
in the playoffs.
Yeah, it's Lamar. It really, at this point, you have to assume that there's going to be at least one dud in the playoffs. is he going to go through it perfect? No. And he had a great second half against the Texans.
Yeah, like they're gonna win their first round playoff game when they play like the Jets in the first round or the Colts in the first round or something like that. But then I will pick them to lose in the second round to whoever they play, whether it is the Texans, the Bengals, the Chiefs, whoever. I will not pick the Ravens to win an important playoff game ever again in my life.
The James
Your
Harden
life?
Rockets.
Wow.
Until they do it. Until they do it.
Okay. Yeah.
He's a
James
choker.
Harden,
He's a choke artist.
They're the James Harden Rockets
Yeah.
of the NFL.
100%.
Except for Lamar Jackson is infinitely cooler than James
He is
Harden
cooler
ever
than James
was.
Harden, but he is James Harden. He is a 2-time MVP that does not win when it matters.
Doesn't play dishonorably.
Harden's
flop.
only a one-time.
He's not fat.
Oh, is he a 1-time MVP?
Yeah, Harden only won one.
That's right.
Good.
Yeah, I don't believe.
Cooler James Harden.
He is
in
cooler.
shape James Harden.
Yeah, he's cooler.
Multi-purpose, multifaceted James.
Listen,
Harden.
I'm just saying that as far as teams
I
that
know.
you think to.
I know.
I'm not. It wasn't. I said the James Harden Rockets. I didn't say he was James Harden.
I interpret comparing someone to James Harden as an insult, and perhaps I shouldn't because
I compared him to. I compared the Ravens to the
the
Rockets.
Ravens, the
Yeah.
Rockets.
No,
The
we-
Ravens-
We focus on just the AFC here so far.
Mhm.
So if you want to include, I think the only option would be the 49ers out of the
I mean,
NFC.
How are they
Like,
different?
we
How are they
can't-
different than the Ravens
Yeah,
when it
I
comes
know.
to playing the
Worse.
Chiefs?
I
We're talking
know,
about
but
beating the
or
Chiefs
Bills.
At least the 49ers get to the Super Bowl. Like,
and lose every time.
would you? So where would you fit the 49ers into this group?
Lions.
They'll have a
below the
second half
Bengals?
lead. They'll be up 10 points in the second
Yeah.
half in the Super Bowl to the Chiefs and then lose.
So
that's
where,
what they'll do.
Where do the 49ers fit? Are they for you? Your top three.
As far as teams that can beat the Chiefs. this
yeah,
coming season.
you have your top three. You said was the Bengals, the Bills, the Texans. The 49ers.
Yeah.
Where would they fit in that list?
Huh. But north of the Bills, they're more talented.
So they're number 2 on your list.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'd also, I mean, the Lions did beat them in week 1 of last year and made it to the NFC Championship game. That did involve Kadarius Toney being
Mhm.
Kadarius Toney. So
Kadarius Toney asterisks.
can't literally hand the game to the Lions again. But I mean, the Lions did have a pretty big lead in the NFC
Yeah,
Championship
I was-
game that they blew.
I was gonna say they lost a close game to the 49ers.
So I think the Lions also, I would put the Lions north of the Texans too on that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I was gonna put them underneath just because only one of them can it would have to be the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So they're literally less likely because both teams would have to make the Super Bowl and then you have to beat them. Whereas, the Texans could match up with the Chiefs in the first or second round of the playoffs.
Mhm.
But as far as just now it's just turning into power ranking the teams
It
that can
is
beat the
to an
Chiefs.
A little bit, yeah.
Then I think the Niners, probably above the Bills, below and above the Texans,
Yeah,
but below the Bengals.
The Lions is tough just because all I see is Jared Goff. And like I know maybe I should believe more, but I
Actually,
don't,
you should believe a little more.
but I just don't.
He's a cheaper Kirk Cousins.
I know.
Hey,
That's been in a better situation in Detroit
who
and LA.
I get that it's hard to go. I think Jared Goff will beat Patrick Mahomes in a Super Bowl.
That's
It's a
why
tough
it's
sentence
so
to say.
hard.
But who are the two quarterbacks that beat Tom Brady in the Super Bowl? Paul, do you know?
No, actually, I don't.
Eli Manning and Joe Flacco. So sometimes weird stuff happens. is
Well,
what I'm
wait,
saying.
hang on. Nick Foles.
Or Nick Foles, same
Yeah.
thing.
Same. Well, hang on. No, because Flacco, Mr. Playoff winner, did beat the Patriots, but the Patriots beat Flacco more.
Nick Foles and Joe Flacco are the same guy.
No, Joe Flacco once was. Well,
He was elite.
For 4 months, he was good.
Foles had one year.
Again,
Foles had a year like that too.
The 1 year he beat Tom Brady, he was good.
It was like 1 month that he was good.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Nick Foles did have a year where he threw 27 touchdowns and 7 picks.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was with
crazy. Chip
with
Kelly.
Chip Kelly.
Yeah.
And I think that's the list. I mean, the Chiefs, as competitive as the NFL is, it does look on paper like how good these teams are in the NFL. It is hard not to just say like the Chiefs are going to win the Super Bowl again this year.
We also spend so much time, especially in the offseason and during the season too, being like, how many great quarterbacks are in the AFC and like how good the AFC is.
Yeah.
And then you get to the list of teams that can beat the Chiefs. You're like, well, the Bengals did in 2021. The Bills at least lose close to them every year. And then you're going with the team that hasn't played the Chiefs in a meaningful game, with in this current
Yeah, with CJ as their quarterback.
with this in this current era. It's like a team that won one playoff game, that went 10-6 and won one playoff game last year. That's the third team in the AFC that can knock off the Chiefs. It's a weird case of there's a lot of parity except for the Chiefs. It feels like.
Yeah, it's they're Tom Brady and the Patriots again. Like they're going to be the reason why a lot of really good quarterbacks do not win Super Bowls. The Kansas City Chiefs are. Maybe you'll get your Breeze Super Bowl in there. Roethlisberger got his too, but the reason why you will not see mass parity in the NFL for the foreseeable future, and I'm sorry that for the Houston Texans, is because Patrick Mahomes is in the NFL.
Also, and the Chiefs' defense is good.
Yeah.
Too. I think that's been the difference that doesn't get discussed as much as Mahomes being awesome the last 2 years has been that Chris Jones and that defense are really good. They have good corners. I mean, they're tough to score on.
Yeah, they
complement him well.
The first Chiefs team was all
Offense.
was
Tyreek
all
Hill,
offense,
right.
and then they just changed it and won 2 Super Bowls doing it a different way,
And
by building up the defense and just kind of throwing scraps out to Patrick Mahomes.
And maybe not anymore. Like you have Xavier Worthy. Like maybe they're going back to the offense again. Like they might have just found like their Tyreek Hill light version of a wide receiver who's super super fast, and we'll
less
see what they look like next year.
problematic.
Well,
And less problematic.
Rasheed Rice is handling the off the field Tyreek Hill
Yeah.
stuff.
He might not be on the field much for them next year. I wouldn't count on him.